The top part of this slide is showing the derivatives of e to the u and the natural log of u. So remember that the derivative of e to the x is e to the x. It's the only function that has its own derivative. So the derivative of e to the u is e to the u times u prime. The derivative of the natural log of u is 1 over u times u prime, or u prime over u. So what we're going to do today is actually undo those. So if the derivative of e to the x is e to the x, then the antiderivative of e to the x is e to the x. So if you have the antiderivative of e to the u, it's going to go to e to the u plus c. That does not mean you're just going to write down the same function. You still have to go through the same process of identifying u and working out which piece is part of your du, etc. The more interesting one to me, I think, is the idea that we're going to go from 1 over u to the natural log of the absolute value of u plus c. So absolute value, remember that you cannot take a natural log of a negative. And if I was working in this direction, that absolute value would not affect my answer at all. So we put the absolute value symbols on to ensure that we actually have something that's possible. So we will do absolute value unless we don't need them. If you have a natural log of an x squared can't ever be negative. So we don't really need the absolute value, but you're never wrong to have it when you go in this direction. So what's interesting is that when you're actually doing u substitution, you may not right away notice that it's going to go to a natural log. Because if you have the integral of 1 over u du, that's the integral of u to the negative 1 du, and it looks like that it's power rule. But you'll see right away that power rule doesn't work. When we do power rule, we'll add 1 to the exponent, divide by our new exponent. Well, if I do u to the negative 1 plus 1, I have u to the 0 divided by 0, and that just doesn't work. So the power rule works for every scenario where you have u raised to a number, except for this one. So for this, you will go to the natural log of the absolute value of u. So I always have students that ask me, how do I know when I need a natural log? And the answer is you'll know, because the power rule won't work. And then eventually you'll just recognize it, that you have 1 over u du, and you'll be very comfortable that it's going to a natural log.